aqui na Gamescom 2024 e do meu lado está um convidado muito especial aqui dessa primeira edição, Paweł Sasko. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Really happy to be here. The Gamescom is really delivering, this gigantic. I've also had a lot of good Brazilian food, thanks to Mariana, our head of Latin communications. So she brought me to, places that from this point on will make it really difficult to find a good food in America because, oh God, the comparison is really harsh for America. I mean,
what did you eat?
Oh, we had the Brazilian barbecue, so that was the first day. Then we had burgers. Then we had all kinds of things that I don't remember the names of. But every Brazilian person that I met, they all the time talk about the same things, from Festa Junina and all of those things. Again, I'm just using some of my fantastic Portuguese, so
Yeah, you come to Brazil in a very special moment because our Festa Juninas, it's so amazing. We have such amazing food here.
Yeah, I was told. We actually sit together with Mariana and she told me everything about Festa Junina. So that was like an hour conversation about this.
Did you try paçoca?
Did I try paçoca? I didn't try paçoca.
It's a Brazilian sweet. It's one of my favorites.
Okay, I got some sweets and I was told that this is a Brazilian cocaine. So yes, so I'm about to deliver it to America. So yes, with me.
I guess you'll be famous there for that.
Yes.
So let's talk about games, right? I want to know how you're doing in your first visit to Brazil, participating here on Gamescom Latam.
Great question. So actually, just a moment ago, we've been talking to the developers of one of the games. They're reaching alpha right now, and they're on Steam, making things, with the core Brazilian roots. Actually, with beautiful art. They give us actually a couple artworks. We talked a couple days ago today, and there's actually many more creators like this. So I love to see this. That there's. That there are younger, smaller teams, studios actually popping up here because it's very much of an emerging market, of growing market. So it's nice to see it. I'm really surprised how big it is. The Gamescom in general actually really looks well. There's so many international companies here and international partners. So really nice to see that. And I've been here for 4 days now. I think if I'm not mistaken, it's been really, really intense.
I can imagine. But you're having fun so far.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had some fun. We also went out and I saw this part of a district where in Sao Paulo where they have a lot of graffitis, which I forgot the name of, but there's a lot of artists smoking joints and painting the graffitis, and the graffitis were beautiful, so I took a lot of pictures.
Yeah, I can link that to my next question because I was just about to ask you, what do you think about São Paulo in particularly?
Oh, I mean, it's interesting because I know that Mike Poncevid actually used to say that Sao Paulo is the most cyberpunk city I've ever seen. It's funny, but when we were walking around in Sao Paulo, you know what took the most pictures of? Cables. You guys do cables like no one else in the world, I mean, I've been to Seoul, and Seoul, Korean people know how to do cables, but I mean, they can learn from Brazilians. I mean, seriously, I've never seen as much cables in my life. I mean, honestly, just oh my God, I took so many pictures. I love those cables. It's because it's very cyberpunk, it's interesting. But when we were making 2077 Cyberpunk, we had a process in Houdini. So Houdini is a tool to basically make game in a way, simplifying it a lot. And we made a generator for cables specifically because cables are cyberpunk, So that's why I understand what Mike Poncevic meant, I walk in the streets and I was just taking pictures of the cables. It was amazing so far.
It's good to be recognized by this because for us here, living here, it's very chaotic.
I mean, yeah, potentially, and that is, I guess, some of the components I can point out as a cyberpunk element to it. Yeah, we've seen some poorer parts of Sao Paulo while driving through it. We've seen some richer parts, some beautiful streets and buildings. So we've been on a 30-floor party yesterday, seeing a lot of Sao Paulo, including a building with a swimming pool on the top. So there's a lot of really interesting things here.
Yeah, I asked this about São Paulo because last year I talked to Victoria and Kepper. Casper, yes. Sorry.
Oh, Wiktoria Stachowska, you mean? And Kacper Niepogulczycki. Okay, I know.
I talked to them, and they told me that one of the inspirations for Dogtown in Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty were the favelas of Brazil. So I wanna know, what do you think about having this closer contact with the direct source of this inspiration?
Oh, I love it actually. Like, I mean, we've been talking about it with Mariana a bit, and the thing is, like, we talked also about this with our art directors in the company, that like having and being in places is so different than actually just seeing them on the pictures. Some of the parts of Night City, you can see that it was built by Europeans who just checked a lot of pictures, but it feels so different when you've actually been there and see it in your own. Like nowadays, just because I've been to a couple places, Sao Paulo now, I've seen Seoul and a lot of other inspirations in real life. When I look at Night City, I immediately see, how much it fits, what is different, and so on. And it's a very good way to actually experience this, because then you can recreate it in a very authentic way, in a true way to the game.
Nice. So, can you talk about a little about the afterlife process that Edgerunners anime brought to Cyberpunk, especially how it was like for you as a quest director, and how the anime impacted the development of the expansion?
Oh wow, that is a very, very interesting question. It's a bit of a long topic, but I'll try to get it brief, and then we can talk maybe more in detail if you will be interested. So the thing was that we started working on the anime. It was in 2018 when our narrative director Bartosz Tybor at the time, Bartosz was working on the story for the Edgerunners, and when we had that story, we started approaching various studios looking for an anime studio that could actually work on the anime with us, and Studio Trigger was our first choice. Like, they were like our first choice. We had like huge fans in the team of the Studio Trigger, so we really wanted to work with them. Now, while that happened and while that work was happening, we were finishing Cyberpunk, and of course, the release didn't went as well as we wanted to. Like, it was really crushing for the team. It was really, really hard. Like, I mean, it was probably like my worst year in my career, in game dev. That 1 year, 2020 to 2011, 2021, the moment after the release, it was really, really hard for us, But we kept working on the patches. There was a patch 1.2, 1.3 that we considered like, okay, they helped a lot, but our players were like, okay, but it's still, the game still doesn't really deliver that much, They were still not too happy with the game, even though we kept working on it. And then we did patch 1.5, that was an actual release on the new platforms. That brought a lot of new players, they saw like how the game looks like, but it was still not a major change in the perception of the game. And then we had Edgerunners coming, right? And we worked on the update for 1.6. And Edgerunners did one thing that I didn't think of before. It actually introduced a lot of our players and a lot of the audience into the Cyberpunk lore, Cyberpunk IP, in a very gentle way. It actually picked like couple concepts and just worked them around and made sure that they're understandable and told a very like competent story on that. And that actually made a lot of people realize that that world is very intriguing. There's so many cool stories, there are cool characters, maybe I can try the game. Especially that the game got an update, Edgerunners update, that, again, my team and I have been working on. So it was really great to see, and that slowly started changing the perception, because the thing was that a lot of players didn't come back to the game after 1.2 or 1.3 or 1.5. But at the moment when they decided to join after 1.6, they saw accumulation of all of those changes, right? And the game really felt different, at that point. So it was incredibly good to see this, And then together, me and the directors, Gabe Montangelo, our game director, we of course, took a closer look at like actually what made Edgerunners really work out really well. We worked together, like there was a lot of our strengths, CD Projekt RED strengths combined with the strengths of the Studio Trigger. So those things, of course, made it actually really good, simply anime, and players recognized it, critics recognized it. So when working on the Phantom Liberty, of course, we had numerous conversations about it, how we are building this. And there's many conclusions that we can talk about if you want to. So one of them, for instance, is, and I mentioned this on my lecture today, that when we built our stories, we focus so much more nowadays on the characters rather than on the plot. You know, Witcher had a pretty complex plot. Cyberpunk had even more complex plot. You know, and the thing is, when you talk to anyone, do they remember the plot? No one tells you that, oh yeah, there was this crazy twist that I saw. No one remembers that. They remember characters. They remember that the romance Carrie or Panam or Judy or River, right? They remember them, you know? So telling the story through the characters is really, really something that we've been doing, and you could see it in Phantom Liberty. And this is something that actually Edgerunners really excelled on. Really, that aspect of the anime was really, really well put together. So it's just one of many conclusions, you know, and of course I cannot talk more about the future projects. We'll see where it leads us, but we have a lot of, I would say, observations and conclusions coming from success of Phantom Liberty and Edgerunners as well.
Okay, nice. And you talk a little about this already, but I want to know specifically more of that, because you said it was crushing for you when the game released and etc. So what was the emotional process of going through all the chaos of the launching of the game in 2020, and along with the community dissatisfaction, until the game's turning point when the version 2.0 arrived alongside with Phantom Liberty, and the game was finally received positively by everyone?
Well, I mean, it's a very difficult topic for me, because the thing was, like, I was one of the people that was talking to our players about our game before the release, right? I was the one who was talking about Cyberpunk, you know, explaining what it will be and so on. And at the moment of the release, it was really crushing. The thing was that, you know, like I was getting hate everywhere, like even on LinkedIn, you know, can you imagine? That is like absolutely, like, through my emails, through the social media, like it was everywhere. It was not only me, it was actually everyone who was like associated with the game in any way. And it was really hard for us, because like everyone really wanted this to be as good as it can be, you know, but we had to ship, and you know, the story is really heartbreaking for us. And also, like, for me, what was particularly difficult was the fact that there was a lot of devs that we have in the team who remember Witcher 3 success. They've been there, they've seen it, right? And then you have newer, younger devs, you know, people who joined us maybe recently, who never really experienced that, but then they worked for many, many years on Cyberpunk, and then suddenly, you know, the game comes out, and then there's no huge celebration. There's no, like, people don't congratulate us, like everyone hates us, like people speak about, you know, like say like how terrible it was, right? It was so crushing, and especially for me to see it and know that in the past we had this success with Witcher 2, Witcher 3 expansions. I saw it all like firsthand. I know how it feels, right? And I knew that some of my designers, my people, they couldn't have it because of that release, you know. It was so difficult. And also, like, one thing that happened, I don't know if you remember, during that time there was this situation when we got hacked, you know. There was this group that like attacked us basically, you know. And the thing was, it was like absolutely worst time in my career, you know, that moment there. And from there, it was a process of just really trying to slowly, like, really crawl back up, you know, because like it really felt like an uphill battle. Like 1.2 patch and then 1.3, we did a lot of work on them, you know, and I think they were like solid patches, but for our players it felt like this is just too little. This is not it yet still, you know. And only then, as we already talked, like 1.5 and then 1.6 really helped. But then, you know, our path towards 2.0, you know, like I really actually I would say the Edgerunners really motivated us and gave us like actually the sign that there is hope. You know, because like when you keep working, and it was years, like when you keep working like 2 years on the patches and you don't really see a reaction, you know, players say, oh yeah, it's cool, you know, it's good, but you don't really see the reaction. You start to doubt, right? You think like, okay, are we even going to do it, right? And then at the moment when we shipped Edgerunners, it was so much hope coming in, right? Because everyone was feeling like, holy shit, maybe actually actually we can do this, maybe actually this is possible. And then all that work, all that passion, all that emotions, all that energy was put into, the 2.0 and then Phantom Liberty release. And it turned out really well, but we didn't stop there. We moved on and immediately started working on 2.1. The ultimate edition of Cyberpunk, working on a metro system, expanded romances, retuned cars. There were so many things we added, to the game in 2.1 just for free for everyone, because we just wanted to show that we really care about this, So that was the path, and then we kept working on another patches. But because we didn't even know yet at the point of working on 2.1 and Ultimate Edition what will be the reception of Phantom Liberty in 2.0. And it turned out really well. Players came back to the game. Like a lot of them bought the expansion, a lot of them bought the base game. Played it and so on. Like Cyberpunk was at some point we were 98% positive on Steam. 98%. I was like, oh my god! Like this is like such a change from what it was before. And you can see that if you like. If you have like a good intentions and you put work in, people will appreciate it. That's the thing, because like that criticism that we received, it was justified. It was deserved. It was deserved. That's the reality. No one with a sane mind in our company would tell you otherwise. And we know that. But the fact that you put that work in, and you turn this around, and then you're given a chance to actually do it, it feels great. And we are all very grateful. That this is how it was received.
Nice. I am really sorry that you got all this hate, but I am so happy that we all overcome this, because I loved so much Phantom Liberty. It was so amazing.
I'm so glad to hear it. I mean, we put a lot of work, and you could see actually in Phantom Liberty that a lot of that expansion, like we learned, right? We learned so many things on building Cyberpunk. Like when I was talking to the players, media, like I always say, like, yes, when you build a game, you learn so much more of how that game is constructed, what things work, what doesn't. So at the moment when you finish working a base game, you're kind of almost ready to do it better now, and the expansion was that chance, to just go in and do it better. And we really, really tried, to just make it as good as possible. And I think I mean now we know how to do it. We know how to do it well.
Yeah, you try it and you nail it.
Thank you. I mean, it's nice to hear. Because again, it's not for us to judge, right? It's for you to judge, to tell us, what you think about what we did.
It was an amazing journey. And just to finish this, that here in Brazil we have lots of fans of now Cyberpunk because of Edgerunners and the Phantom Liberty, and it got this huge success. It was a turning point, and also fans of The Witcher. So I want you to leave a message for all the CD Projekt Games fans here in Brazil.
Sure. I should talk to the camera. Why not? Okay. I mean, my dear, so I am incredibly thankful, first of all, for you that you played Witcher 3 expansions, Cyberpunk 2077 and Phantom Liberty. It's always the best reward for us as developers, because we make those things for you. And your opinion matters so much for us. And I know that Cyberpunk and Phantom Liberty have a wonderful Brazilian Portuguese localization with a great voice acting. Literally everyone keeps telling me how amazing that is. And I'm so grateful that you could play it, that you liked it, and I really, really hope that you will look forward next games from us. We'll really, really try to make you proud.
Thank you very much.
Obrigado.
Do you know any other Portuguese words?
Oi. Tchau.
Tudo bem?
Festa junina.
Perfect. That's all you need to know. Paçoca, you know paçoca.
Now I know paçoca.
Thank you very much.